Cerrone Battle in for Tony Maserati today. Cerrone lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, for all intents and purposes. Wake Forest, North Carolina. But just to, again, set the record straight, you were born and raised?
I'm born and raised in Dorchester.
Okay. So
I'm local.
He's a Boston guy who just happens to live in North Carolina.
That's it.
Unfortunately for him. No, North Carolina's all right. But as being down there, you get a lot of Drake Maye in your face. You watched a lot of Drake Maye. Dan Orlovsky says, if you draft him, you better be willing to sit him for a year or two because he's not close, not the guy. Do you agree or disagree with that?
100% agree. I don't think you draft him at all. And I don't think, not just this coaching staff, I don't think there's a coaching staff in the NFL, not in 2024, that can afford to sit anybody for 2 years. Coaches now get fired too quickly. Carolina just knew, we're good. We'll sit him for a couple. We'll let him get the kinks out. Yeah, they fired everybody before you even got a chance. That's the way the game goes. If C.J. Stroud didn't have the year he did, D'Amico would have been on the hot seat. Nobody can afford to wait 3 years in sports anymore. It just doesn't happen. That being said, he's right. Drake Maye, in a bad ACC the last couple of years when the schedule got tough the second half, as soon as it hits October, he's terrible. His best game last year was against Campbell. It's a small school. It's like playing Holy Cross.
I've never heard of it.
I
Exactly.
I thought that'd be a person.
I thought it was super.
It's a Campbell. It's a pretty expensive school, but it's a small, terrible football school in North Carolina.
Soup school.
He had a game against Campbell and a game against Duke when they didn't have the quarterback. He had a pretty decent
You know
game.
what Campbell is on the schedule, Murray?
It's the soup can, the tomato can.
It's a tomato can.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, there it is. It's a tomato can game.
That was his best game of the season was against Campbell. And he struggles second halves of games. And if he's playing for the Patriots next year, the way Zoe was getting upset in the booth, he'd be punching the air by week 3 because he does that like Mac Jones had to play in Germany where he tried to just throw it out there. That's what he does. He does a lot of that. I'm running around. Let me throw it left-handed over the middle of the field.
You made a comparison to a recent bust that you think Drake Maye could be.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I about grabbed my chest when you put it in the email chain this morning.
It's giving me a lot of Zach Wilson vibes. Where
Really?
it's are you saying he's an NFL prospect because he's shown that he's an NFL prospect? Or is it like
Traits.
yes. Oh, he's 6'3". He's got a strong arm. He's got wide shoulders. He can get around the pocket. He fits the mold of an NFL quarterback, and you just said that's the guy. Like they did it last year with Will Levis. Out of nowhere, it was like,
Yeah, right.
look at him. He just looks. That's an NFL quarterback. It's like, but Jaden Daniels has double the touchdowns in the SEC, and we watched this kid put 900 total yards on Alabama and Florida back-to-back weeks. And this dude threw 303 touchdowns against Campbell, and you're like, he just has it. And it's like, no, that's not it. I watched him against NC State. You got to realize, when you live in the South, if anybody's been in the South, professional sports is secondary. This is what they talk about all day long. Drake Maye versus NC State, and that defense was the matchup everybody wanted to see. It's the big UNC versus NC State. Thanksgiving weekend, whatever it is. He didn't complete a pass until like 2 minutes left in the second quarter against a good defense, and they lost that game. Last year, they lost 4 games in a row. When they hit Clemson and all these tougher teams, he struggles. And they said, well, the UNC is not that good around him. It's like, oh, they were good the first half. It's amazing. One of his receivers is going to go in the second or third round in Walker. They have talent. They put up numbers, but he doesn't show up against the good defenses, against the good teams, and had an okay season in a bad conference. And when I see Caleb Williams or when I see Jaden Daniels do what they did against the best teams in this country over and over and over again, I can't look at him and say, well, he has the right mechanics. He should be the right guy. It's like, no, he just plays bad football at bad times against good teams over and over and over again. And I've seen enough of it to where I'd rather take a Bo Nix. I'd rather take a Michael Penix, who I saw carry a team nobody thought. No one picked Washington to be in a championship game. He carried that team to the championship. He had a bad game against Michigan, but that's better than having a bad game against Syracuse or, NC State. That was the best team in the country that probably broke the record for most players entering the draft. You had a bad team against that. That's okay. I can live with that. But having bad games over and over again against Keon White in Georgia Tech, that's what he did last year. It was Keon White's coming out party. He was sacking this dude 5 times or something like that. But I'd rather if he was putting up big numbers in the Big Ten or in the SEC, yes. but okay numbers in a bad conference, that doesn't scream franchise guy to me. And he's never – one thing I would add real quick, he's the pride and joy of North Carolina. His brother was the basketball star, game winner, national championship. His father, I believe, was a quarterback at UNC as well. So he's never really gone outside of the Triangle area. He's never experienced criticism outside of the area.
Are you saying
what do you think he's going to do here?
I was going to say it'd be a little different here than
a whole lot different.
Yeah,
the minute people hear him talk, you thought Mac Jones sounded funny. Oh, the sounders that you guys are going to be able to collect on this kid is going to be crazy. And wait until the weather gets cold. When you talk about a kid that's never left, and look how bad he plays when it just hits October weather in the South. And think what's going to happen when he gets here in January. In November, December, going into January if he gets that far.
Cerrone Battle, again, lives in North Carolina, so he's followed this player closely over the last couple of years. So I take this guy. I take all commentary, especially biting critical commentary, seriously.
I think Sam Howell was a better quarterback at UNC than he was.
617-779-0985. How's his mentality? How's his makeup? Because I had heard you say something earlier before that, Caleb Williams gets all this grief for the crying in his mom's lap and curling up with his dogs and watching the shows and et cetera, et cetera. Where does Drake Maye fit on that spectrum?
Well, when he's crying and got his head down and he's pouting, nobody's watching because it's Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But when you're in L.A., and everybody's watching you because they know that you're the man. It's like, oh, he's got fingernail polish on his pinky. It's like, yeah, half the kids at UNC do too, but no one's watching. This kid, when things get tight, he puts his head down. He walks off. He takes chances. He starts forcing things because he's like the Varsity Blues, the star, like you see in these movies or these Disney specials. Like he's the jock, he's the guy. And when things don't go his way, everything just goes south. And he gets these numbers. They're down 20. Okay, now I can get my 200 yards in the second half and 2 touchdowns. And, look at the end of the day. He had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, yeah, but he didn't do anything when the game was tight and when things were under pressure. And if I'm the Patriots, look, they're going to take a guy. They're going to take a franchise guy. None of these guys are perfect. And if they're stuck with him as he's the last one left, you have no choice. But I would kind of avoid him if I had the opportunity to get a Penix or to get one of those other guys instead.
Bad body language and hollow stats. Ugh.
Hollow stats being
he only looked good against something called Campbell.
Yeah. Look at the schedule, Campbell, and then around Campbell. If you look at the schedule, you see LL win Campbell, LLL last year. The end of the schedule, LLLLL, and it's like he's a franchise. No, all those L's, he's a franchise guy.
In other words, Cerrone Battle on Drake Maye.
L.
Out.
That Campbell thing, that shades of Markelle Fultz when we found out he couldn't beat Yale. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Well, but in this example, he actually beat Yale. He beat Campbell.
Oh, BYU. I mean, Zach Wilson at BYU. Who was he lighting up? Trey Lance at North Dakota State. Who was he playing against? And then he throw him out against the Cowboys. You're like, man, something doesn't look right. Yeah, well, no, of course he's playing in Division II football.
But you're putting up big hollow numbers against Campbell?
Yeah. Quite literally.
Meanwhile, the other guys are playing
the tomato can game.
Yeah. Right.
That's my one joke of the week.
But yeah,
well, that's scary.
I could be wrong. He could be. I think gets a little positive.
No. Hold it.